Hi, everybody. Welcome to another session of hashtag Gather to Grow here with Food from Zanzi on Twitter Spaces. I am Dornumdu. I'm your host for this evening. I hope that you guys are well, that you had a great day, and that things are going well in terms of your businesses. We're talking about agri business plans and how you can optimize in terms of applying for funding, the writing of a business plan. I'm sure many of you have done some research on this topic. All right, so I'm going to give my speakers a chance to introduce themselves. As you guys know, we always have different voices, different people in the room. And so I'm hoping to get the most out of tonight's experts so that they can share their expertise and knowledge with us. Okay, I'm going to kick off with Mlimlo. He is an agricultural economist with over 6 years experience in agri consultancy, academia, and entrepreneurship. And he's also a registered stud breeder of merino sheep and Bosmara's cattle on Mountain View Farm. So both an agricultural economist and a farmer. Absolutely amazing to have you in the space. Mlimbo, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, where your journey started in agriculture, and just a bit about yourself? Thanks.
I am a young entrepreneur, a farmer, like you said. My journey started in 2006 when I was in primary, moved to a farm, the same Mountain View farm that farming on. And later I got involved in academic and training myself as a student, later stage assisting students, research assistant. And then between that, I realized that there's a gap between knowledge and farmers, especially emerging farmers, people who are starting or wanting to venture into the agricultural sector. So I began consulting during COVID. I think I was only consulting part-time before that, but it's on a full-time basis now. Anything agriculture related, how you go about any enterprise from management programs, breeding program, your cash flows, budgets, reservoir installation, you name it. So I'm assisting the farmer to actually start up and to avoid cost that is going to be lost due to trial and error and somebody trying out something that they don't really understand.
Thank you so much. I think you're quite diverse in your offering, and it's amazing that you saw a gap in the market to support developing farmers. And I'm so happy that I was able to connect with you because a lot of what we do here on Gather to Grow is to share expert advice on various commodities from livestock to crop production to agri-tech, supplementing during winter. I'm so happy that you're here and that you're able to share some of what you do and some of your knowledge and experience within the sector. So thank you so much. My next guest, Lucky, is from AgriComba 101. He assists with writing comprehensive business plans, focusing specifically on the agricultural sector. He also does farm assistance and planning, as well as mentorship training and registration of companies. Now, the registration of companies is a very important aspect because I've heard of people charging a lot of money for something that farmers could probably do by themselves if they have access to the internet. So I'm hoping that you guys will maybe talk a little bit on that as well. But Lucky, thank you so much for being with us. Maybe just a bit about where your journey started within agriculture and more about you and your company. Thank you.
So AgriComba is a company that was registered in 2018. However, my journey started before that as I was a student in the University of Free State, did agricultural management. So I also did few practicals. One of the intriguing practical that really interested me was when I was at BTA, is the Benesfield Training Academy in the KZN, Pietermaritzburg. There we were doing pig production. So we had farmers coming every week, every 2 weeks, small-scale farmers, emerging farmers, students. So we will train them, we'll explain what we do. And I really liked, talking to people and training people. And the question that I ask myself is, what happens to these people when they leave here? Because remember, they're only there for 2 weeks or a week, and then they leave. So who helps them after this? So I started giving people my numbers. They were happy with my trainings when they came for training at the academy. And most of them did call me back. They did ask me for advice. So I saw a need, a gap, whereby a lot of people enter into this industry and they still do need assistance. So that is when I decided to register Agrikumba. So Agrikumba, as you said, is a consulting and training company. So we do register companies, as is the law in South Africa that you must have a registered entity to run a business. So that's the first thing that we do. And we do help our clients with compiling a comprehensive business plan. You see, this is not just a normal business plan, it's a strategic plan designed to describe the focus of the farmer and what actions is he going to take, and also identify clearly the measurable results that he will be able to reach with that kind of a plan. Another thing that we do is training and mentorship. So as a farmer, if you want to go into a business that you don't understand, you sometimes need training. And most of the time, our farmers do need training. So we provide that. And we also do farm resource assessment. Usually before we write the business plan, we gather a lot of information about the farmer. We visit the farm. We check what is there, what is needed, what is the enterprise that the farmer wants to embark into. And then we want to see if that farm will allow that kind of enterprise. If, for example, you want to do a crop farm, or maybe you want to do an animal farming, it depends. So we can also do a soil testing for you to check if your soil is suitable for what you want to plant. If it's not suitable, we can also advise what alternative crops you can plant. We do test your water to check if your water is enough, the quality and the quantity of your water to check if it's enough for whatever enterprise that you want to embark into. And we also check your boreholes. They are providing enough water. We do cleaning of the boreholes. We can also equip your boreholes. If your boreholes are not enough, we also do a siting of the boreholes to check if we can also be able to drill another borehole for you so that you can have enough water for your enterprise. That's what we do every day. Day to day, we write almost every day. It takes time, remember, we can compile a business plan. We also need to make it practical. We want to make it successful. So we take our time, we do necessary research, and we want to have the facts straight so that we can be able to assist the farmer as much as we can. So the writing takes time and the research also takes time. So that's what we do at Agrikumba every day.
Absolutely amazing. I say this weekly, and I'm sure the regulars are tired of me saying this already, but I cannot emphasize enough that there are so many people working towards building the sector. And I think the work that you both are doing is amazing, specifically to assist farmers to succeed, because often you'll start and then it's a struggle because you don't get the basics right. But it sounds like both of you are able to assist farmers to lay a proper foundation and be successful within the sector. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing your knowledge and experience. We have one more speaker that's really trying to connect with us, Willem van Jaarsveld. He is the founder of Ladder Consultancy Company, and it stands for Leadership Agricultural Recreational Development Agency. In the meantime, Willem, you can use the tweets to just connect with us there. Okay, we spent a lot of time with introductions. I'm going to kick off with my first question. And that's basically just to, explain what the first thing is that business owners should understand when it comes to business planning. And again, is it advisable to get an expert from the start? So coming to both you, to the two experts in the room, to say, okay, I need help with this definitely. And how does one start to make an assessment? I think, Lucky, you spoke very extensively about, doing the research. So do you think, Lucky, that there is an assessment that needs to be made? If I'm a new business owner, where do I start?
Entering into or deciding to start your own business is a very big and important step towards your financial freedom. So you as a business owner, personally, you have to take it serious. So if you do decide to do the plan yourself, it is also a very good thing to do because it means you'll understand your business much better. So my advice will be for the fellow business owners to start at the point of sale, begin with the end in mind. So the point of sale will be, where are you going to sell your product? Who's going to buy it? How much do they need? That's where you really have to start. For example, I'm opening a bakery. I'm just making an example. Obviously, I will have to go to ask myself, where do I want to sell my products? Do I want to sell to the retailers? So I'll go to the retailers. I'll ask them, are you willing to buy from me? If they say yes, what is your requirement and how much are you willing to buy? So then I know what is expected from me as a business owner So if they tell me that maybe they need something like a certificate or something, and then at least I understand what is needed, then I can be able to go back and find out where can I find those things. So it will take time if you decide to do it on your own. However, an expert, if you then decide to have an expert to do it for you, to do the assessment for you, to do the researches for you, it will save you time, it will save you energy. Yes, you will have to pay for their services, but you're going to pay either way, whether you do it on your own or you hire someone. So the person has experience more than you. They have been in the industry longer than you. They know the corners of the industry. They know who to ask. They know where to go. So if you decide to do on your own, it's going to take you time. It's going to take you energy. You're also going to spend money because it's a trial and error. So even though during the process of learning and trying to find out what you need to do, you'll also understand your business much better. But it will be quicker to learn from the experience of others. We can learn from our own experience. We can also learn from the experience of others. So it is a win-win either way, whether you want to do it on your own or you want to hire an expert. But an assessment is very important because if your business is a vehicle, then the market will be your wheels. So if you don't understand the market, the business is going nowhere. So you really have to start at the point of sale to understand what the market needs. Do they need your product or do you need to change and sell something else?
Thank you so much, Lucky. Mlimbo, do you agree with him in terms of that being a good place to start? Your point of sale to secure a market before you do anything else when it comes to writing a business plan? And then my next question would also, what are the steps that business owners take? And also, does this change over time? And who do you involve in this beginner phase? Who do I speak to? Am I speaking to someone in finances in the beginning? Do I find a business advisor or someone who can mentor me to give me the right advice? Who do I involve in this beginning process? Because I think often you get so many people saying different things to you. Someone says this and then another person says another thing. So who do you listen to? Who don't you listen to? And who do you involve in the beginning process? Mlimbo, if you could take this one.
I couldn't agree more with Comba 101. A business plan is really crucial. It's based predominantly on facts and market research, as opposed to opinion and belief. Now, I'm just want to skip a little bit forward to this one way. Who do you listen to? Who don't you listen to? So you listen to the guys who are going to give you facts, who are knowledgeable about the topic, as well as those who have got knowledge on market research and have been exposed to the market. You can take a lot of things from your neighbor, but you need much more than that in a business. Otherwise, you're going to be as good as your neighbor. And often the neighbor is probably not as efficient as he should be himself, but he's a little bit more efficient than you are. So you're not trying to be like your neighbor, and hence you should seek expert advice.
Thank you so much. And I think it's very clear that obviously fact finding and proper market research is important as a starting point. Now, my next question specifically around, understanding, and I guess it's part of your market research, whether there's actually a need for this product or service, as you guys mentioned, is a vital element in writing your business plan, because I think everyone in this room is either part of primary agricultural production or agro processing or other services along the value chain, and it is essential to our livelihoods. But how do you kind of figure out for yourself what is a viable option? Because everybody these days, because poultry and citrus, there's these commodities that are attractive, that's doing well in the market, and that's usually what people go for. But how does one do the research to understand if the specific idea or plan will actually work? So, for example, I'm deciding to farm with cherries, for example, because it's a niche commodity, or blueberries because there's a market for it globally. Where does one start to kind of figure that out? Do I speak to you as an agricultural economist? Limbo, what do I do?
As mentioned, the experts that you do involve will ensure that the project, from management to employees, consultants, and you are able to deliver what you want to deliver. Be that as it may, you can be diverse as you'd like to be. There's no limitations as to what you do, but the limitations would be geographical, and your expert would advise you on that, whether what the type of enterprise you want to run is suitable for your management structure, your team, and your geographical location, and as well as if your finances can handle that. What guides the decision of what you want to sell or what you want to produce would be your market analysis, where you check your competitors, your competitive edge, your demand, contracts that you are getting. Are you getting a good price from the people you're selling from? So all of that falls part of that market research. And is it a fair price? Because you must know that farmers are price takers and not price makers. So oftentimes people are paid less than what they should be paid. And just turnover levels projected without any market backup or based purely on verbal agreements is not a good thing, because you stand a very big risk of that person not honoring that. So you make sure that you've got a concrete agreement with your buyers in the industry.
Thank you so much. And I think we've said this time and time again, there's no such thing as a gentleman's handshake or a lady's handshake. You need to make sure that you have agreements in writing and that it's signed. And it's not just about, saying that you're going to do this thing and there's a market for you, but then when you come there on the day, then nothing happens. So I think we've definitely said that in these spaces more than once, and I'm so glad that you're reiterating it once again. Komba, maybe you can also just give your take on understanding whether or not your agribusiness idea, or even to diversify if you're already established. I must remember that I'm talking to farmers who probably are active already and you're looking to diversify perhaps. So, what advice would you have for them, Komba?
So I agree 100% with what Mlibo has just said. And for a startup, like you also mentioned, Don, that you want to enter into a niche market. So some of the markets have not really been tested that much. So it depends also on the popularity of what you want to sell. You see, when you go to our townships, you see salons every corner, you see tuck shops every corner. It depends on how popular whatever you want to sell is. So the research will depend mostly on that. For a niche market, it is mostly advisable to do a feasibility study where you can be able to see whether the business will be feasible or not. So it takes time really to start a business. I think most of us here on this platform understand that as well. So I would say for us small businesses, we must always assume that everything will take longer than we expect. So you must just be patient, because our challenge is cash flow. We always run out of money before we can even start getting an income of our product. So the research, yes, you might be spending a couple of rands on research, but it will save you a lot of time and energy. It will save you a lot of money in the process, because you might end up being busy going up and down selling something that nobody wants, or something that already there's a big market that took it. So, for example, there was a client of ours who wanted to start a hatchery in this place where there's already a big hatchery in that area. So she said she wants to start the hatchery, but our advice was, let's start doing a feasibility study first, because there is already a well-established hatchery. So these people can beat you like nothing. So she agreed. We did the feasibility study, and we also went to that big hatchery to find out how do they do their products. What does it cost them to produce whatever they are producing? And we found out that they can actually spend 50% less than a startup, than someone who's maybe, let's say, for example, they hatch 1,000 chicks a day. Someone who's hatching 500 chicks a day will spend the same amount of money to hatch those chicks. So they will make 50% more than that person, or 100% more than that person. So then that was one of the things that farmers must understand, that feasibility study is important, because at least you manage to save money. What if she decided to start a hatchery and in the process she realized that she's going to lose a lot of money? So yes, I really do agree with Mlibo, and really need to do a research, and we really need to ask experts who have been doing it for longer than us before we can even start embarking in any enterprise.
Thank you so much, Komba. I hope everyone is taking notes, because I'm like crazy taking notes here based on what our speakers are contributing tonight. And I'm sure maybe you've heard this before, but it's always good to refresh your mind and just go back, and maybe if you want to start something new, if you're already in the business and you want to get some pointers on how to approach it or how to improve on your writing, on your business plans for possible funding applications. I mean, the experts are in the room. So if you have any questions, then please do ask them, grab the mic, or you can comment as well. Now, my next question is specifically around, how do I outline my strategy and set up this company that I want to set up within agriculture or, down the value chain, and I'm a new business, I'm very small, I possibly have no team at all. What is the approach? Do I project that by within 6 months I'll be able to employ someone if this is my projections in terms of my finances? How does that work? Limbo, I'm going to give you this one, and then I also like to get Komba's insights on it as well. Thank you so much. And also just to bear in mind, maybe it's even to diversify productions or something new as a new avenue.
If I heard you correctly, you say, what if you on your own?
Yeah, what if you're on your own, you really don't have anything yet, but you want to get started? What is the approach?
It's merely impossible to start up, no diversify, if you're on your own. But the next best person would be an expert, your guy who's involved in farm planning and the things that we do. You contact, or you look up, or you ask about it at the departments as well. See who can advise you better in terms of who can you find that can assist you. It comes with a little bit of cost. Starting up anything is always associated with that. That person, then you can share, in layman's terms, what is it that you're envisioning and whether it's possible or not possible.
Thanks so much, Limbo. Komba, anything you take on this question? Limbo says it's nearly impossible to do anything on your own. You have to have a team or at least one person assisting you, or from the department side, or maybe from research institutes who can give you some understanding or knowledge, or even experts like yourself. Do you agree with him?
Yes, I do agree with Mlibo that it's really a challenge to start up on your own, but usually that's what most startups do. Is sometimes you don't have a team at all. Sometimes you are alone. You don't know what to do. So there's a couple of strategies that you can try that I personally did try. You firstly need a mentor. Just find someone who's doing the same thing that you want to do and ask them how they are doing it. Or you can even volunteer. I know we all need money, but we need to add value first. So volunteering is a way of adding value to yourself, and the money will come. So you can just volunteer to work with that person in their business to learn what they are doing so that you can also be able to implement some of the things that they are doing. And another thing is, an idea doesn't necessarily have to be new. You can do what other people are doing. And immediately when you understand it, you can then start to improve to make it a bit unique to fit what you actually want to do. So it's not really wrong to go there and find out what they are doing and do exactly that. And eventually you'll learn, and then you will do it the way you want to do it. So that's what I will advise as startups, because the main challenge is cash flow. We don't really have money to start. And if you really think, you must start thinking hard. If you think hard, your ideas can really help you to find ways to make money. I remember when we started a cooperative back home where we were looking for funds, but there were no funds. So we had to think. And our thought led us to a secondary school whereby there were computers in the school, but they were never utilized. There's no computer subject. So we approached the principal and said, can we teach your learners computer? And we use equipment for free, rent free. We don't pay any electricity, but we reduce the cost. So they did agree. And the students came in numbers and they paid. So we made money without spending any money. So it's just thinking and implementing your ideas. Just that. So if you think, I need this, I need that, you'll never start. So better tools will come along the way while you are still doing it. So just do it. So I think that's what is important when you are starting as a small, medium, or just a smallholder farmer. So you must just do it and find people who can help. So the most important thing is to know which doors you need to knock. And knocking does not mean that you knock once. You remember the ways you must keep knocking. We keep knocking. So if you knock once and nobody answers and you say opportunity may be left in the back door, if you were to keep knocking, someone will open and they will actually help you. So try to find where you can find help. That's the best advice I can give for our fellow farmers.
Thank you so much for that, Komba. I think it's important, and I think Limbo wants to also say something. But just that on the point of, keep knocking, because that's always something, because it takes effort. One of our participants has a question: which is better, Pty Limited, a co-op, or a trust for farm ownership? What are the tax implications thereof and their impact on the business plan? Thank you so much for your question, Mohorane. I really appreciate your participation always on these sessions. So who would like to take this question? Should I repeat it for our speakers?
The other expert can add on to that. Firstly, I just want to allude on what the previous expert said before he finished off of, you must just keep trying and knocking on doors. That is quite important due to the fact of where the history of this country comes from. A lot of people who are involved in agriculture are people who are not alone. So the mere fact that you find yourself alone has to deal with inefficiencies of policy of how come that one can't start something alone. And that also has to do with the financial muscle of the individual who wants to start. Now, in terms of which one is better, I believe a PTY LTD is the preferred one due to also the low tax rates comparatively to the others. A co-op as well, but a co-op is formed with other people. You can't be alone. And oftentimes failures with co-ops is different views of individuals, different personalities, and people don't really have the same goal as they go through the enterprise. You might start on the same page, but it deviates, and there's often disagreements with that, especially if your business plan and your objectives aren't clear. Then you caught wanting in the middle halfway through the operation. The trust, I would advise it to a person who has resources, for example, land, tractors. A person who's starting up can also do that, but there's just a bit higher cost implication.
Thanks, Mlimbo. Komba, would you agree with everything that Mlimbo said? And do you have anything else to add to the question? And I hope that answers your question, Sobi.
Yes, definitely. Another thing that I just want to add is the challenge, like Mlimbo also said, where this country come from. And I think this is a safe space to say it when it comes to registering co-ops. Like he said as well, that we don't have the same goals. My advice will be just keep it as minimum as possible. So the minimum number needed for a co-op maybe is 5. So you just keep it at 5. At least make sure that you guys understand where you are going. Because if you look at co-ops, they are really funded fast by the department. But if you look at how fast they fall, they don't last more than 2 years. So you can ask yourself why. So it's a challenge for people to can handle cash flow. And because most of them are funded and they also don't have money, so they need money. So it's a challenge. But if you have a goal, you know where you are going as a team, as a project, it will help. And a PTY is also good because at least you can be able to do it by yourself and do exactly what you need to do and hire people as you go. So I do agree with Mlimbo 100%.
Thank you so much, guys. I have 2 more questions for our experts tonight. Now let's talk about, the steps that are, involved in creating a financial plan. Because I know that when it comes to business planning, setting up a financial plan is also part of it. And I want to find out if this changes over time. Is it fixed? And what happens if you have no startup capital, for example? At Food from Zanzi, we've written many stories of people starting their businesses with a SASA grant, and that's absolutely amazing. But how does one create, a financial plan and apply for funding or financial support with this business plan and financial planning? Who was the last one to speak? Komba. Mlimbo, do you want to take this one and then I'll go over to Komba again?
For you to start your business plan, whether you're hiring an expert to assist or not, has to include an executive summary, legal entity. So it's the registration of the companies, your income tax and VAT documents, registration, proof, tax clearance, and so forth. You open up an account. There's one of the things that a legal entity should have. Define clearly who's involved in the business and what role they play in that business. So by the use of organograms in that same document, oftentimes they're not, you need to show what your capital expenditure is. What are you willing to spend? How much do you have? Production, what is it you're going to do? How are you going to go about producing? They need a lot of evidence in terms of substantiating your case, in terms of lease agreements, off-take agreements when it comes to market analysis. Just enterprise budgets, also a big thing in production. How is that enterprise budget structured? Are you not going to run into cash flow problems? So those are the questions you need to ask yourself when you're going or thinking about an idea and wanting to put it into motion. Financial information. Where are you getting this money from? How long are you going to be getting this money from? when do you start expecting money from this business? Because there's often a time to positive cash flow where there's no money, and it's the time when you're still focusing to sell. Now, agricultural products, majority of them have got a time lag, which is, biological. Cow only gives birth at least once every year. I know with small stock, it's about 5 months, some a little bit less, some a little bit more. So what are you doing in that space before you actually sell your product or market your product? Because they still need to be fed. There's a lot of input cost that goes with that, medication, in terms of crop fertilizers, diesel, your spray programs. So there's a lot of that involved, and one just needs to clearly know what is it they want and what is it they want to start with, because it's advisable you start with one enterprise at a time and then grow into others. Like AgriComba 101 said, you should just don't bite more than you can chew. And then once you've conquered the one, it will give birth to the other business enterprise.
Thank you so much, Limbo. And then Willem, one of our other speakers, is just saying that he wants to encourage all starters in business to be very honest with themselves about who they are. What makes them to get them up in the morning? Is the intended business the thing that they will always be inspired by? So it must inspire you daily, also in financial storms. And he says, and this is a very important thing, and it reminds me, Simon Sinek, know your why we do what we do. That's very important. So thank you so much for that, Willem. And I am sorry that you're not able to connect with us and join us in the conversation, but I think I'll definitely invite you back on another occasion to join the conversation or a similar conversation in the future. Komba, do you want to add something to the question around financial planning before I ask my last and final question and get closing comments from you guys?
I definitely agree with both speakers, and especially William, what he said about being honest with yourself. I just want to touch on that quickly and then move on to this question, because I think most of us, we want making money difficult. I don't know how to put it. We want to make it difficult to make money, and it should not really be that difficult. It should be doing something that you love. It can be something that you have always loved since you're growing up. And we don't think that we can make money doing things that we love. So that's one of the things that I wanted to support the Vellum statement. However, when it comes to, like Mlibo said, your cash flow or your enterprise budget, it's very important to be able to forecast it for 5 years. If a business owner decides to do this on their own, at least minimum 3 years to 5 years, be able to forecast how you're going to make money. So your income statement must show at least 5 years, and you must have your monthly income statement where you can see how the money is going to flow in and out of your business. As we also spoke earlier about cash flow, which is very critical when it comes to business, will your enterprise maintain cash flow, or it will be something that will take too much money from you from the beginning? So that you can see, because even funders, they want to see how serious you are with what you want to do. So why fund something that is not moving? I must find something that is moving. I can see this person is serious. He has already started selling on the street. So what will be stopping him to selling in the real market if he already embarrassed himself on the streets in rain during harsh weathers? So it really shows how much passion you have when you wake up in the morning asking yourself, like William said, why am I doing this? So it's very important. So the cash flow is a challenging part of the business. So you really need an expert on that to be able to put your balance sheet together, to be able to analyze all your costs. What do I need? How much is it going to cost? I think for that one, we really need someone. If you don't know it, just ask for someone who can help.
Thank you so much. And I think it's often overlooked, but finding the experts who knows, this line of work or has the time to do the research, work on the finances, that's a good place to start and to incorporate from the get-go.
Sorry, Don, can I comment on what Willem said
For
about
sure.
farmers being honest about themselves or about what they want to do? A true reflection of how honest you are to yourself in the business plan would be identified from your objectives. Now, objectives must be identified and communicated, as part of developing this vision or this growth or something that you've seen you'd like to implement, to show what is your mission actually in the business. So your objectives are used to come up with that, more like your mission and vision statement, just to convert, managerial aspects of the business directed into specific measurable performances. So you say I've got 5 pigs. At the end of 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days, I should have X amount of litters. And I'm not going to allow more than 2 litters to die because I'm forecasting to get X amount from this for this to be profitable. And then in between that, what is the nutrition I'm giving them? That's where the cash flow comes in. So this honesty part is quite important. It's reflected through objectives.
Yeah, no, definitely. I just wanted to ask this one question and forgive my ignorance. And maybe this is just something that I can talk about from my own perspective. I'm always over eager and over optimistic when it comes to thinking about certain things in a positive way, but you have to obviously account for shortfalls and not being too over eager in terms of plans and forecasts because things will come into play that's unpredictable, that you had not planned for. How do we kind of get into a reality state of a reality check? So give yourself a reality check in terms of this is definitely possible. And even though I may project that this might happen or this is my plan based on my research, an extreme weather it might happen. I might lose all of my litter due to swine flu if it's big. How do we kind of account for that as part of the business planning? Limbo, would you like to take this one? Because you mentioned it as well.
Being overly eager sometimes is not a bad thing. Maybe one is passionate about something. But with my knowledge that I've got, it's only gone down in 2 ways. Getting an expert in is the costlier route, which is a little bit shorter. And otherwise, you're going to be stuck in a trial and error. Like you say, that everybody says many things when you started with this. And I started by saying, maybe you should not consult your neighbor. Not that he does not have the expertise or he can't teach you something, but you make mistakes along the way, which making mistakes cost the business money. So feeding the wrong feed at the wrong time and not achieving the results that are intended, that money is gone and the results not there, and you can't take that back. Agriculture requires a lot of capital investment from one's pocket, and the expert could advise you or to say, no, this is too ambitious. No, this is possible. This is doable. And you can pose your questions to an expert to say, but why are you saying I'm ambitious? And then they can highlight or allude to you exactly the shortfalls and the benefits of the route that you agree on.
Thank you so much for that. I actually have one of our regulars, so we're asking for enterprise budgets as a topic. Do you think either of you would also be able to touch on this if we establish another session in the future? Because I think that's a very important aspect, setting up a clear budget and plan. We spoke about it briefly when we started talking about financial planning. I'm putting you on the spot, so you can either say yes or no to it. But my last question as we wrap up the conversation would also be around putting a plan into practice because now you've done your market research, you understand all the facts based on a specific commodity that you want to step into. You have gotten to understand the impact of the agricultural production and agro-processing, whether it will actually be viable. You have your company strategy, you know who's going to be part of your business. You've worked on your financial plan. So we've covered all of the bases. How do we now put all of this into practice? And I think I touched on it briefly. How do we ensure that we stay abreast of the plan and keep it top of mind, especially in terms of, the volatility when it comes to the sector? Komba, would you like to take this one as a start?
What we all know is that business is risky. But then who said you must do it alone? You see, on the plan, we also specify that in the beginning stages, you'll need help. So you can mention the entities, the organizations that you need to join. If maybe you are under the pig industry, you can join SAPO so that you can understand, so that you can also get some of their expert advices for free. And if you are under your poultry, you can get the SAPA. So it depends. And we also mentioned clearly on the plan that while you are still on it, you can also have a mentor. So you need someone to guide you. You see, a mentor is like a GPS. Unlike a road sign, a road sign will point you to a direction, will point you to a place where you need to go, but a mentor will go with you. So a mentor is someone who really has in-depth knowledge of what you really want to do. So as your business is also a map, sometimes you'll get lost. So the practicality of it does not guarantee success immediately. The practicality of it says success is on the far side of failure. So at some point, you're going to fail a couple of times before you get to success. So success is not next to failure. So people fail not because they do not get what they were looking for. They fail because they give up too quickly. So they end up not doing that because they said it's not going to work, but only to find that if they pushed a little bit longer, it was going to succeed. It can look good on paper, but it can be challenging and difficult to put it into practice. That is why it can take some trial and error. It can take some expert knowledge. It can take some mentoring for you to get there. So you need someone to take you into a place within yourself where you cannot go by yourself. When they get you into that place, they will let go so that you can run your marathon on your own.
Thank you so much, Komba. I think you've given us a lot to think about. And whenever you said that part about, giving yourself time, I always think about there's always these weird memes where the person's digging and digging and digging and they give up just when they're about to reach the other side. So I always have that picture just popped into my head about, continuing and not giving up. So thank you so much for that. Limbo, maybe just your final comments around, putting a plan into practice. And then maybe another question would be, once it's drafted, once you have your clear outline, and you are very sure of all the aspects of it, how often do you go back and review this plan? Does it happen quarterly? Do you sit and look at, okay, this happened practically, I need to make a change. Maybe this won't work, I have to review this. Because I think what Komba said, what's on paper doesn't always happen in reality. So what advice do you have in terms of reviewing a business plan and specifically around finances as well?
Putting a business plan into motion, I would then say this is where the enterprise budget comes in, because you go back to your enterprise budget. Then this enterprise budget would inform you through estimating the economic and financial feasibility, as well as uncovering costs that may have been overlooked. You say something might cost you less, but it costs you more. And those are the trial and errors I speak about when I say if you don't have an expert involved, then you go the other route where you'll buy something at a much higher price than you should have bought it for, or you buy something that is unnecessary. So your enterprise budget, it will help you make an investment decision. You can compare what you actually did and the actual results of the implemented plan. So without doing all of these and recording, recording is one big part of management on a farm, so that you can compare actuals versus what was projected. Then you can always go back and re-strategize, go back to the drawing board, see what was expensive, what ingredient in my feed is costing more, the prices have changed. For an example, fertilizer shot up with this Ukraine war. So you see, do I still need to plant that can't fix nitrogen? Maybe let me opt for this crop. So your enterprise budget has got like a sensitivity analysis, which is done by experts, or that's what we do, where you punch in all the numbers that you do. How much is this input? How much is this ingredient? I'm expecting to get so much. And then it tells you whether you break even or how much gross do you end up with.
Thank you so much for that. And I think I'll definitely take up the suggestion from our regular Sobi to figure out how we can either get you back or other experts to talk about enterprise budgets as another conversation. We have reached the end of tonight's session. I think you've both shared a lot of great insights, and I hope that we've covered all of the bases. And I think there's so much more that can go into it. For example, I didn't even ask about the length of a business plan. How much information do you put in there? Is there a shorter version that you can keep for yourself to distribute to new clients or new people that you want to have enter into your business? Or how much do you write into business planning for financial assistance or applying for funding? So there's a lot of other questions I think we can still cover, but we have run out of time. So maybe just closing statements from you, Komba, and then Limbo as we wrap up.
Let me just, before I just close, let me just say yes to the next session of the enterprise budget. And I also have someone in mind who's also an expert in that. So we'll talk about that. So I would also like to be involved in that as well. I like to say thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to come to this platform and explain our expert knowledge on this matter. And we also have come a long way. And I know, and we didn't have enough time to can be able to elaborate on some of our points. So we would like the people in this platform to also follow me at Kumba 101 so that we can talk more if they need more information regarding business planning, regarding registering their companies and so forth. They can get hold of me. Then we can be able to discuss it more further.
Thank you so much, Komba. And of course, I think that's the idea, that whoever wants to connect with either one of you can do so from the session, and hopefully, make use of your service and, improve on their current plans. And if they don't have business plans, to start writing one. I hope that everyone in this space does have a business plan though. And I think everyone does. I don't think anyone starting a business, especially in an agricultural sector, started without a business plan and clear research and clear planning, because you're investing a lot and you don't want to lose your money. I hope that this session helped a little bit with, improving your current plans, and even if you're diversifying, to start a new one. Limbo, maybe just your last thoughts and comments on tonight's topic, and also how people can connect with you.
I would like to say thank you to you, Don, as well as your listeners, and Food from Zanzi. It was a pleasure to be with you guys tonight. Life begins where you get uncomfortable. When it's uncomfortable, that's when things start being on the upside for you. So don't give up. Keep pushing. To all those that are involved in this sector, it's not easy, especially considering the economic climate that we are faced with currently in South Africa, especially as farmers, primary producers. But let's farm on. It is possible. There are people who've done it, and you are no different. We're more than welcome to impart knowledge on farmers. They can get in touch through Dawn or on the platform, Twitter. Just drop me a text, and we can keep in touch. Thank you, Dawn, and thank you to the rest of the listeners.
Thank you so much, Mlimbo. Thank you so much, Komba. And thank you to Willem as well in his absence. He was really trying to connect, but unfortunately we couldn't get him to be a speaker, but hopefully we can have him join for our next discussion. Thank you so much for being here, Mlimbo and Komba. I appreciate both of you, and I'll definitely invite you back for the enterprise budget chat. On that note, my doorbell is ringing, and I'm going to say good night to everyone. Have a great rest of the evening. Bye bye.